Writers, readers, drinkers, lend me your ears and your livers. Welcome to Writers Drinking Whiskey Open Bar, the only show on the internet that is completely 100% human hallucinated and never AI hallucinated. I am your host, of course, like always, William R. Hensey, and we have a giant, delightful cast today. So let's get right into meeting everyone. And so I thought for icebreakers, we have a big cast, so I thought I'd keep it simple. So just what is your favorite summer activity? Like I know we're summer as we do this, so what's one of your favorite things about summer to do? So, and I'll just go left to right as I see you guys on the panel up here. So let's start with John Gilstrap, the man, the myth, the drinker. John?
We like to go to wineries and kind of hang out. Usually around here, there are a bunch of them in Northern Virginia, which is a ways from me, but they usually have a band, and not all that fond of Virginia wines, but it's a nice evening. It's a good way to spend time.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Those are fun. And then now let's go over to Diane Hammond, the only author to give Free Willy a high five.
Because I was his press secretary. So I'm in Northern Michigan, and my favorite thing to do in the summer is get warm. It's quick season here, so enjoying green and being warm outside are my favorite activities. Sitting out on the deck, which is overlooking a river, is heaven itself.
Very cool. Thank you for that. And now let's go to Austin Camacho, the godfather of the Creature, Crime, and Creativity Convention, though he's never committed any crimes against creativity. Austin, what's your favorite summer activity?
But I know several creatures, so that makes up for it. I guess we have a lot of live music hereabouts, a lot of good bands, and there are 2 or 3 places that we go during the summer that's live jazz outdoors, where you unfold your chair and just chill. I think that's our favorite thing to do.
Very cool. Thank you for that. And now let's go to the chonkla sniper, Miss Sue Alcon O'Connor herself. Sue, what about you?
Stay in the fucking air conditioning, I think, and drink whiskey out of a glass with a stegosaurus on it that's 45 years old, and you guys all know you had one, right?
No, that's the real answer, is to stay in the air conditioning. I thought it sounded sort of pedestrian, but yes, that's it. Staying cool, staying out of the humidity.
But when you add in the whiskey in the Stegosaurus glass,
Yes.
like it makes up for it. Is that the Quiet Man whiskey? Are we having Quiet Man today?
Yes, it
too,
is.
Very good. I tried to find some near me. I don't think they sell in California. Which is the terrible thing about whiskeys is sometimes they can't cross the state lines or whatever. But I was looking, and that was one I couldn't find.
Okay, I will change your life right now. Have you discovered the website fruitbat.com? FROOT?
No.
You can buy any liquor and they will ship it right to your door. Even in West Virginia, which is kind of a blue laws kind of state. But yeah, fruitbat.com.
Okay, nice. I'll have to give it a try. I will give it a try. Thank you for that. And then who did we miss? And how? Oh, now because it actually keeps shifting everyone on my banner here, so it's threw off my entire methodology. Jesse Darnay, the man whose prose paints the river green with envy, and I realize I made yours up around St. Patrick's Day, so yours has the St. Patrick's Day.
I'll take it any day. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think in saying this, I realized that I finally comfortably situated myself in middle age. But I'm going to say every morning I go on an hour and a half long walk. And the earlier the better. It was really quiet out, just me in the trees, maybe an occasional, dog walker here and there. But I absolutely adore my morning walks. I look forward to them every day. That and also actively not listening to the news is one of my favorite summer activities.
Amen. Good man. I always say that, and people scoring me, but I go 1 hour of news a day at most. That's all a brain can handle. I know there's actually some psychology around that I've heard psychologists talk about, but
I'm at zero, thankfully.
Zero, even better. Even better. And then now let's get to Dario, the editor who will drive all the comma splices and sobriety from your writing.
Well, I live just an hour south of Diane in mid-Michigan, and I have to say, being able to go outside and take walks in the brief but delightful summer, because in the winter in Michigan, there are days when you really can't go out or don't want to. But this is, it's even better this summer because we recently bought one of those little wood-fired uni pizza ovens. So summer now means pizza outdoors.
Oh, very good. I see someone bought that like the second I left their house.
We're waiting for you to come back. I still have the whiskey you left.
Oh, very good, very good. I hope to supply you for days on end. And then last but certainly not least, Jessica L. Sparrow, the author that the ravens themselves quote. Jessica, what's your favorite summer activity?
Oh, there's just so much to say, but especially in this like humid Maryland heat that we get, that's just so lovely and hot. I would say go visit family at the Eastern Shore and stare at the pool from inside the air-conditioned house and read and do some reading.
Very good, very good. Yeah, I had joked with everyone beforehand that I was going to jump in the pool, but I literally just mostly stare at it too. In fact, because our old pool guy I had to fire because he was lazy and it kept turning green and he kept trying to flirt with my wife. So then I got like a professional pool man. So I fired myself, got a professional for a while. And then I rehired the old lazy guy. And so now whenever it's clean, I like to stare at it admiringly like I did something right, So I even flirt with my wife less because I just look at the pool and I'm like, look, it looks like it's supposed to. I'm so proud of myself.
Well, in Southern California, doesn't the water temperature get to be like a bath, like 90 plus?
No, not where we're at. During the summer, I don't have to heat it, but it'll be like mid 80s, which is actually pretty nice when you jump in. It's nice and cool still.
That's warm.
But when it's 10 degrees cooler than outside, it feels good. If it's any warmer, everyone complains. But I still actually just wait for the sun to go down. I like to go in the jacuzzi so I can just sit there and have heat, spray me, because I'm an old man with arthritis. So, anywho, let's get into round one here. So, as I mentioned, everyone, pregame here. My idea from this came from the Chicago Sun-Times had an incident. I think they said it was an advertisement, but they had produced a summer reading list that was completely AI hallucinated. So none of the books, none of the authors, and they had outsourced it. But whatever reason, there's a summer reading list of books that you can never read. So I thought it would be fun here to have books that people could in fact read if they so desired. So I thought we could go around. You can name just that doesn't have to be a long list. We have a bunch of people here, but if you want to give one or two books that you're all excited about reading, that would be wonderful. And so since we ended with you, Jessica, why don't we start with you on the reading list?
Sure. Just put me on the chopping block. Actually, this one I picked up in Iceland last year. It's called I Remember You by Yrsa Sigurdardottir. I hope I said that right. It's basically like a haunted ghost supernatural story, but with like Nordic noir. Apparently, she's a pretty good Nordic noir or mystery writer over in Iceland. So far so good. And then my next read after that one, I'm so excited. And no, I'm not biased, but I'm very excited that my friend's book, Southern Cross Vaughn Jackson, just came out, and it's going to be like the stardom to my, summerween, right? Just getting right into the Halloween spirit midsummer. So I can't wait.
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool. And Vaughn, who's been on the show here. So for me, remember to link up his episode up there. We'll give him a plug out for that, but very cool. Thanks for that. Yeah. Yeah, great guy. I'm sure. I'm looking for it. I'll have to get myself a copy of that. I wasn't aware.
Sure.
Some people do a real good job at hitting me up and go, "Hey, Bill, this is coming. Book's coming out. Give me a shout out." And then other people, I find out later. But either way is fine. But I'll look forward to getting my own copy.
Yeah, I just realized I didn't describe it at all. You just want to think about Django meets Blade type, so if you saw the movie Sinners and you kind of want a little more of that, pick it up.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for that. And then let's go to, I'm trying to go in inverse order, but again, it moves everyone. So let's go to Jesse now. Jesse, what's your reading list for summer?
Actually, so I've been reading just like an anthology of poetry, and I came across a poem by Seamus Heaney. Is that how you say his last name? Heaney. I think.
Yeah.
And he is phenomenal. I know he's like very famous, but I'd never read anything by him. So if there's time later, I would love to read this poem.
There's
so
time
I'm really
now.
kind of dorking out on him now, and I want to go buy all of his books and read all of his poetry. He's Irish.
Cool. That means you should read it now. If you want to read it, go for it. We have
Okay.
We have a minute. Yeah, go for it.
So let's see. This poem is called The Skunk by Seamus Heaney. Up black striped and damask like a chasuble at a funeral mass. The skunk's tail paraded the skunk. Night after night, I expected her like a visitor. The refrigerator whinnied into silence. My desk light softened beyond the veranda. Small oranges loomed in the orange tree. I began to be tense as a voyeur. After 11 years, I was composing love letters again, broaching the word wife like a stored cask, as if its slender vowel had mutated into the night earth and air of California. The beautiful, useless tang of eucalyptus spelt your absence. The aftermath of a mouthful of wine was like inhaling you off a cold pillow. And there she was, the intent and glamorous, ordinary, mysterious skunk, mythologized, demythologized, snuffing the boards 5 feet beyond me. It all came back to me last night, stirred by the sootfall of your things at bedtime, your head down, tail up hunt in a bottom drawer for the black plunge line night dress.
Very cool.
Nice?
Very cool. That is very nice.
Yeah.
So at first I thought there was a skunk, and then I think I realized that the skunk was just a metaphor for his loneliness and, how much he misses his wife, or ex-wife, I'm assuming. But yeah, his stuff is just so beautiful. So now I'm on the Seamus Heaney train, basically.
Very cool.
If I wrote a poem where the metaphor for my wife was a skunk, I think there'd be a problem.
Well, she's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why
I think
that's
his
his
ex-wife.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
She's gone. I think a skunk a skunk can actually look kind of sleek and pretty from a distance, but it's also viciously noxious, and so it just has both things going on at the same time. I mean, it's however you want to interpret it. Maybe there actually isn't a skunk, and the skunk reminds him that he's lonely. I don't know, but it's just his writing is so beautiful, I think. And again, he's super famous. I think he passed away, but I'm just now discovering his poetry. So Seamus Heaney for July for me.
Very July.
Nice.
Very good. Thank you for that. Awesome. You want to take us from there, Sue?
Excuse me. My turn? Did you say?
Yes,
Okay.
I did say. Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I didn't hear you. So
it's okay.
What'd you say?
Okay.
Huh?
yeah, that's me.
Huh?
All right. First thing I'm going to do is reread Artemis by Andy Weir, and probably the Hail Mary Project. Just because I read that the Hail Mary Project was going to be a movie next year. And so I'm pretty excited about that. And then one of my favorite authors, Christopher Moore, has a new book out called Anima Rising. And he's just so clever. And let's see. Vienna, 1911. Gustav Klimt, the most famous painter in the Austrian Empire, the darling of Viennese society, spots a woman's nude body in the Danube Canal. He knows he should summon policemen, but he can't resist stopping to make a sketch first. And as he draws, the woman coughs. She's alive. Back in the studio, Klimt and his model turned muse, Wally, tend to the formerly drowned girl. She's nearly feral and doesn't remember who she is or how she came to be floating in the canal. Klimt names her Judith after one of his most famous paintings and resolves to help her find her memory. With a little help from Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, Judith recalls being stranded in the Arctic 100 years ago, locked in a crate by a man named Victor Frankenstein, and visiting the underworld. So how did she get there? And why are so many people chasing her, including Jeff, a giant croissant-eating devil dog of the North?
Nice.
Whoa.
More is wonderful.
I love him. So those are two that are on my list, and probably Stephen King's new one. But I'm kind of saving that like the most tasty piece of candy in the box.
Do we know anything about his new book? What is? Do you know? Is it?
It's called Never Flinch.
Okay.
I know that he has a character in it that was in Mr. Mercedes, Holly Gibney. He has a real soft spot for Holly Gibney, so she's been in a whole bunch of his books. But
have you read all of his work?
Most of it, yeah. Some of it twice, and that's one of the nice things about getting old, is that like you forget everything you read, so you can just read it again and it's like new. So
I believe that. Actually, I have my best friend, oldest friend, Robert. He has a ghost story about him and his wife, and we talk. I see them like pretty often. They did move to Arizona, so not as often as we used to. But I always forget the details. But it's awesome because then I hear it, and it feels like I'm hearing it again. I'm like, oh my god! And they're like, you've heard this story. I'm like, I know, but I don't remember. So.
It gets
I feel
better.
Completely so.
That's one really nice thing about getting older. That's like one of the pluses.
You can hide your own Easter eggs.
Having
right.
like artificial hips and shit like that.
Very good. Very good. I know my wife wakes up every morning and goes, I forgot how handsome you are. True story. True story.
Like that.
All the time that happens.
That's the sweetest thing I've ever heard.
That's cute.
It's never once happened, but I tell myself that and I forget that it hasn't happened. So by tomorrow I feel like it really happened. Awesome. You want to take us from there, John?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought we were working backwards. So I was. Can I do shameless self-promotion?
Of course.
I have a book.
I would hope you would.
Just came out, Burn Bridges, the Irene Rivers thriller series. I am sick to death of reading it, to be honest with you, but but I hope others get great pleasure out of it. I'm right now in the middle of a book by an author that I have not read before. I've heard of him, and I'm trying to find my cursor to pull it up. Is Harry Hunsicker, and the book is called Devil's Country. It's mystery thriller, not hardcore either one, but it's really interesting. He's a Texas Ranger. The main character is a Texas Ranger, and it's pretty good. I just finished CJ Box's 3-inch Teeth. I like Chuck Bucks a lot. That has to be the worst title ever. 3-inch Teeth. But,
I like it.
and on deck for me is Parents' Weekend by Alex Finley.
Parents' Weekend. Okay, very good. What's Parents' Weekend about?
I'll tell you after I read it. I guess I know that it's set at a college on Parents' Weekend.
Probably during
Yeah. So,
That reminds me of my writing mentor. When people used to ask him, what's your book about? He would say, it's about 300 pages.
Very good.
I like that.
Such a smart aleck.
Well, very good. Awesome. And then let's go to Diane.
I've been debating what to admit to. I'm trying. I've been reading beach reads, not because I enjoy them particularly, but I want to know why they're such incredibly good sellers. So following on the heels of at least half a dozen of the worst books I have ever read, I'm still mystified. So I'm not going to mention beach reads coming up, though I do have a couple. There's something called The Keep by Jennifer Egan. and I'm partway into it, and be damned if I can explain it. It's got 3 different voices, 2 of which are the same character, but in 2 different timelines, and 2 completely separate stories that I imagine are going to merge at the end. Anyway, it's kind of a tour de force in terms of form, and it's basically about a drug-addled, washed-up guy who is summoned to, I think it's Romania, to join his cousin in rehabbing a castle, a broken down castle, into some sort of strange hotel. And she's a very good writer, so I can't tell you more than that, but being partway into it, it's really interesting. And again, partly because of the way it's written, and I can't figure out how it's all going to link up, but I'm confident it will.
What's the name of it again, Diane?
It's called The Keep, Keep, Jennifer Egan.
Okay.
And I would recommend it, if nothing else, just because it's such a mishmash of horror and suspense, and wow. So add a woman for Jennifer Egan. And then to make up for the beach reads, I'm going to go back to reading Tender as the Night by F. Scott. My all-time favorites. I've read that book so many times. I'm on my 3rd copy of it because they keep falling apart. But I learned a lot about writing from him and from that book. So it's kind of time to go back to that touchstone. So that's my prize for making it through all these beach reads and figuring out what The Keep is all about by the end.
You know, as a guy who has a book coming out every summer and the headline is great beach read, I have to say I'm a little scared.
Not that kind of beach read. I guarantee, John, you do not write the beach read sentence. They're always kind of Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, Cape May, Cape Cod, Provincetown. They're all the same. And they're all, I mean, some are cleanly written, but they're not at all interesting. Lots of brand names and describing what outfits the women are wearing and what kind of wine is being cooled. And I don't know anything about that stuff. So, like, yeah. Okay. So I very much doubt that yours is in that category.
You're reading bound versions of the Hallmark Channel.
Yeah, that's what it is. Exactly. And let me tell you, it's a torment. So I better come out of it having learned something about what not to do, because I never can pull one off.
But you can knock it out, like,
I thought so, but you know what? It's boring. I would keep veering off into something interesting, and that would ruin it. So I'm.
I agree. I've tried it too, and then sometimes I'm just like, when is the dead body gonna approach?
We had about 4 years ago. I'm Mr. Christmas. I love all things about Christmas, you know, both on the spiritual side and everything else. But we decided that we were going to watch a Hallmark Christmas movie, one a week or one every, 2 a week. I think we made it through 3 movies. And it was like, no.
Can I tell you my nightmare story? This is a really quick one. My mom had Alzheimer's for a number of years. And as she lost her ability to read, her CNAs would turn the Hallmark Channel on all day, every day. And the month of July happened to be Christmas month. Why? I can't tell you. But
because it's Christmas in July. It's Christmas in July now. Okay?
And let me tell you, there's a special place in hell for the writers of those stories. To sit there for 8 hours while my mom stared vacantly at the TV and watching these things day after day is a special torment.
Those writers get 80 grand.
It's honestly probably a good gig. Like, it's probably consistently keep writing the same script. The actors just keep playing the same parts, and they just keep getting paid.
They're making
John, if you really love Christmas, write down Christopher Moore's The Stupidest Angel, and you'll read it every single Christmas, I promise.
Stupidest Angel.
The
Stupidest Angel. It is amazing.
Yeah. Very good. You know, I think Hallmark is the first thing that goes to the AI overlords. Because there's no reason you need a person involved in the making of a Hallmark script any longer. So, but very, very cool. Thanks for that. So, I think I was going to go to Austin. We haven't hit you yet, Austin, right? Austin and Dario, I think is who we have remaining. We haven't hit yet.
Okay. Well, then I suppose I will step into the breach here. Just out of fairness, I should put out there that I literally can't remember the last time I read a book that wasn't written by someone I personally knew.
Sure.
Okay. Every book I read
I'm getting there with you, buddy. I'm getting
by
there.
a writer I know, because I know too many writers and they're all pretty good. Right now, I'm in the middle of The Other by Jeff Markowitz. It's shaping up to be a mystery, but it's two separate stories. One is taking place in 1933 and involves a Nazi youth camp that was set up in New Jersey. Yes, but it's true. That part's true. And there's another
for captured Nazis or for Americans who were Nazis?
No, for gathering American youth and teaching them how to be Nazis.
Oh, wow.
You said 32, right? I think I remember hearing some of stuff there.
Yeah.
That's the Bund
the
kind,
early
yeah.
30s they're trying.
Yes. And at the same time, there's a story going on in present day that appears to be linked to that, but I haven't read far enough to see what the link is yet. But Jeff's writing is just amazing. For the prose alone, I would have read this book, but now I'm really into the story and the history and the deep background about what it's like to be Jewish in this country as a combination are unbeatable. Unbeatable.
What's it called again?
The Other.
The Other. And his name is?
Jeff Markowitz.
Jeff.
Does that all look backwards?
Nope,
No, it's
we
right.
can't see his name.
It's right.
Jeff
Yeah.
Markowitz.
If you back it away from the camera a little,
I like the cover.
There you go.
There you go.
That
You really
better?
see it more.
Remember The Other by
if we
Thomas
can-
Tryon?
I do remember that book. Yeah.
Oh,
Other.
I did not think of that, but yes.
I'm wondering
Okay.
if we can... Sorry, John, go ahead.
No, just saying, Hitler Youth. Have you all seen the movie Land of Mine?
No.
Yeah.
Look it up. It's great.
Okay.
I think it's a Danish movie. The subtitles, but in the immediate aftermath of World War II, the Nazis laid millions of mines, and prisoners of war had to clear up the mines.
They were the minesweepers.
And once they finished their section, they could go home. So this is about this grizzled soldier. I guess he's Danish. I don't know. Who is in charge? His section is Hitler Youth. So he's got these kids going out and cleaning up the mines. It's fabulous. It's really a good movie.
Okay. Very cool. Thank you for that. And then
My
Dario,
next
you wanna...
read. No,
Oh,
not
I'm
letting
sorry.
you go.
I didn't realize you were done. Well, no,
Not letting you
keep
go.
going. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Nobody upstages me, baby.
Streetwise by Christopher Chambers. I haven't read this one yet, but I read the two previous books about Dickie Cornish, who is his detective. In the first book, Dickie is homeless in Washington, D.C., and ends up helping somebody solve a murder. And then, he manages to get off the drugs and actually become a private eye. Get the license and everything. So with that origin story, you can have a sense. If you want to read stuff that really feels like street, Chris Chambers is your guy. And I'm eager to see where he's going with this character, because the guy started on such shaky legs. So streetwise,
Streetwise.
yes,
Okay.
Chris Chambers.
Nice.
Oh, very
Now
cool.
I'll let you go.
No worries. And I'll make sure anyone watching this, future me will have a list of all the books in the description. So
Oh, very
please
cool.
do.
Great.
yeah, we'll
very
list them off. So if you guys can remember, if you want to send them to me, as I go through, I'll try to write them down. But just in case, and if there's
I'll put it
anyone
in
you
the
want to
chat.
maybe add, yeah, the chat would be great too. Just throw them in.
Oh, okay.
Trivia moment. We've
Okay.
talked about Stephen King. Now you've got Chris Chambers. Anybody? What's the link between?
They
That
co-wrote
was-
a book together.
Nope, that was River Phoenix's character in Stand By Me. was Chris Chambers.
Really?
Oh, man, then John, you were on the spot
fascinating.
with that one. That's impressive. I remember Stand By Me, but not a single character's name at this point.
Oh my God.
Great movie.
Very good. Awesome. And Dario, you wanna take us home?
Yeah, I racked my brains for upcoming books, but I don't tend to know much about them because, rather like Austin, a lot of books I read are either by writers I know or writers I'm editing. And I tend to rereads a lot. I'm not very excited by a lot of what I see coming out and do a look inside on Amazon. So there is one series I really recommend. This is the first book in the series. It's called The Evan Warlow Mysteries. They're set in Wales. They're by a Welsh writer. And there's 17 of them. And it's a very, very good evolving procedural series. The writing is good. The plots are very clever and all different. And the team dynamic between the detectives is really interesting. So and lots of subplots that evolve over the series. So Rhys Dillon, Evan Warlow series.
Would you hold that up again? I didn't get the...
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this is the first in the series. The first is a little slower because he's setting up a lot of stuff, but they actually get better and better and better. And a series that does that is unusual. My wife has just binged all 17 books nonstop, and I'm on the 10th. So yeah,
wow,
they're actually very good. And the other series that I'm about to reread, because the final book in a series that's been going about 10 or 15 years is coming out. Very genre, science fiction, kind of science fiction fantasy. Charles Stross. Does anyone know Charles Stross?
No.
So rings a bell.
This is the first volume in the series, The Atrocity Archives, and he's a British science fiction writer, and what he's done with this series, the series is called The Laundry Files, is very clever. So The Laundry is this fictitious British government agency, and the whole series is a marriage of Len Date and John le Carré, British civil servant mysteries, married with the Lovecraft mythos. Ooh. So what you've got is a secret government agency of underpaid civil servants, one protagonist in particular, that is the only thing that stands between humanity and nameless horrors from beyond space-time. It's a really wonderful series, and the whole premise of it is there's something called computational demonology, which the Laundry practices. So anyway, if you want a wonderful genre read, that's one of my favorites.
That sounds really
very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and actually, everyone, give me 1 second because I have to grab something from behind the camera.
So let's talk about our host while he's gone.
What does he have to do? Okay, the future's out of the class.
I think he needs to
No,
summon
but I'll probably
Cthulhu.
have to do it in
You're
a few minutes
fast.
myself.
I am fast. I was just walking to the
really
other side
fast.
here.
Yeah,
So
he's young.
I have to do some shameless self-promotion because we started talking Christmas in July, and I literally forget that's a thing, even though I do have a Christmas book. So
good.
anyone that wants, and actually there is a Hallmark satire as one of the stories there called Hallmarked at Christmas.
good.
But it is
I love that book.
I
a
recommend
series
it.
of
good.
5 Christmas stories. So anyone that's
Nice.
wants a fun, completely different Christmas read, you can check that out. But I want to give a shout out to a couple of writers that have been on this show because, like Austin said, I've kind of gotten into the reading people that are on the show, or I really try to find like new writers, out there, or I try to reread because there's so much great books. I don't think I would ever read them all in my life, so I try to pick up some old books that either I may not have appreciated when it was forced down my throat, like during college, or and so to that end, I'm actually going to reread Moby Dick.
Oh my
because
God. Oh,
I,
no.
uh-huh.
Oh, no.
I am because I hated it so much in college. I'm gonna try and see if I still hate it now. To the reading friends list here, John, if I may go with my list. I listened very succinctly for you. Even though you plugged yourself. I plugged myself too. I don't know that I can fault you for it, but James Grady, who actually introduced me to you, John. James Grady has a new book coming out. It's gonna be two. Let me see what he sent me. So his last book was The Smoke in Our Eyes. That was volume 1. Actually, in volume 2, they're actually putting that book together with the next volume of it. I think it completes it, and it's going to be called American Sky. So that should be published this month. I'm going to try to turn this open bar around quick. So probably the next couple of weeks we'll have it out. So we'll still be July timeframe. And then Steve Hunter has one coming out. I think this is going to be a little after summer, but he has the Gunman Jackson Swagger coming out as well that he recently reached out and kind of let me know. So those are the alumni books I'm looking forward to reading. And John, I also didn't know yours was out, so I'll have to grab that as well because it's when you start getting to know lots of writers, like doing a conference or doing a show like this, and then so many of them are super talented. You start going like, oh well, they have a new book out. Okay, well, why don't I read that? Super one of the perks of the gig. So that's what I'll be doing for the summer. And so, John, tell me why were you so upset with Moby Dick?
Well, first of all, let me say that Jim Grady's with the smoke. What's the title?
The Smoke in Our Eyes.
The Smoke in Our Eyes is a freaking brilliant book. I really love that book. Moby Dick is just it was the nemesis of my high school. That dense wailing section in the middle where nothing happens and I don't care. There's just, and I'm not against Melville. I like some of his stuff. Billy Budd, I liked. Bartleby the Scrivener is one of my favorite stories, actually.
Sure.
I prefer not to.
What now?
Yeah,
I prefer not to.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, Moby Dick is I would rather chew barbed wire and read Moby Dick.
I believe that only one actual editor is present right now, but he might be able to confirm my thought, which is that Moby Dick is the novel that does absolutely everything that we are told not to do in writing.
like a chapter.
Every single thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Well,
I believe it.
If you get a chance, you should check out my updated intro to Moby Dick. It's the last page on my poetry collection book.
Okay.
It was like an assignment that we had to do, and I was like, you know what? Let me just kind of mess with this a little bit because I love Gothic literature, but it is boring as all hell.
Jessica, could you put that in the chat? The name of your book?
Sure.
Sometimes the thing with people like Melville and writers, of a century or more ago is sometimes the language is just so delicious. I love late 18th and 19th century literature. The language is just wonderful. And that can carry you through the sticky chapters of exposition sometimes.
Right. We had Keir Graff was on the show. He's done some of these open bars. So, and some of you may have met him differently, but he's been on a few open bars. And he said he had an old writing teacher that told him when he wrote something that was it was like boring information, but information that was needed. And she asked him do you know what a mimetic fallacy is? And he's like, oh, I don't know. It's like when you're writing something about boring and you write it in a boring way. So if you have to write that boring bit, do it in a fun way. And I think about that quite a bit. And I think I've naturally done that because I bore so easily. But I'm like, oh, if you need that, it's like, oh, do it in a fun way. And I think that's when, to your point, Dario, with that language, then you can have a little fun with how you get across that that information that's necessary, but not. And I don't know. I hate Moby Dick. So I said I try books but I hate academic reading and dissection of books. I hated it when I was in school. I hate it now. So I'm going to give it a try. I may still hate it, but I was like, I'll give it a try where I can just kind of read it. I read it at a very slow pace because I like to, I chew more than read. I kind of chew on it and think about it. And we'll see if I hate it, then I'll put it down again, just like I did. And this time I just don't have to make up an essay, to go along with it.
So when I was,
I don't know. We might ask you to summarize it for us.
If any of you literary geniuses want to cleanse your palate, read my first book, The Bone Shelter. I
put it in the chat. I put it in the chat.
Promise.
Just happen to have.
It's a wonderful, wonderful book.
I thought it was a great beach
book.
read.
I love that cover.
It was a great beach read. That's right. All of Sue's books are great beach reads, actually. What was the second one, Sue? I'm blanking on the second one's name, but what was the second book is just as good as the first. What's the second book's name?
Justified Murder of Crows.
There you go.
Now a secret.
Great title.
Dario and I are collaborating on the third one.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
That was a secret. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. We won't tell anyone. We'll just post this on the interweb.
Before we wander too far, I have to explain that when I was in high school reading Moby Dick, I hated it so bad. Mr. Heaney was the teacher, and he was the guy. This is in the 70s, okay? So he was the guy that wore a suit and tie every day as the English teacher. And I turned in a paper that was Dick, Moby type sperm. And then and it went from there. I thought it was funny. He, however, did not. I didn't get many F's in English class. That was one of them.
That was one. And perhaps well deserved, but worth it, but perhaps well deserved, in retrospect. I got lots of F's, all of which were well deserved. I made sure I got every F I ever got. So awesome. Thanks everyone for that. If you're watching Writers Drinking Whiskey, you believe in the arts and in the freedom of artists to pursue with their stories. This show is about learning the stories of writers far and wide. And now I'd like to tell you about one of mine. Pirates of Appalachia, my epic absurdist satire, is now going to be releasing weekly as a serial on Substack. What is Substack, you ask? It's an app where you can sign up and support artists and creators with diverse focuses and interests, from news to podcasts to politics to culture to YouTubers, and a growing community of short story writers and novelists. It's kind of like an employee-owned business where the bulk of the earnings go to the creators, not the corporate machines. You've heard me discuss pirates on the show over the course of the last 3 years, and I am so excited to finally share this with you. Set after a series of events colloquially referred to in the story as the Trumpocalypse, nations have given way to mega city-states, and they're separated by these unincorporated wilds where all manner of mayhem, mystery, and chaos ensues. And in the grandest city-state of them all, Pittsburgh, a highly contested election season features a sociopathic esports star versus a hulking ex-clergyman to decide who will get to spend the city's debt and be the next goober. If you took one of those How Would Our Baby Look softwares, plugged in Huckleberry Finn and Slaughterhouse-5, and that child grew up to be as fightingly, city-sackingly mad as a boy named Sue, you would have an image of Pirates of Appalachia. Pirates will be free and in its entirety on Substack. So go on there and subscribe to me. You'll get Pirates for free. I will also send you out an ebook that will be for free and for paid subscribers. If you'd like to support the show, $5 a month, you'll also get a free copy of the audiobook of Without Expiration, my American Fiction Award winner, done by a really talented narrator, so I'm sure you'll enjoy it. You'll also get early access to all of these shows of Writers Drinking Whiskey. I'm recorded out months in advance. You will get those way out in advance. And for every 100 subscribers, I am going to be hosting a subscriber happy hour. I'm going to keep this going as long as we can because I'm a drinker and I like happy hours. Come join the community. Support independent storytellers. The link will be in the description and the pinned comment. And if you're not inclined to check out Substack, don't blame you. Completely okay. You can continue to support the show here on YouTube. You can become a member if you like. You can also just continue watching. We will run you a tab because this is Cheers, and we see all of you out there watching as norm. And we will let that tab run, and we will yell out your name every time you're here and be really enthusiastic about it as we go. Now let's get back to the show. All right, so round 2. Let's get to the writing advice of Stephen King. So I will nominally go through everyone, but feel free. I pulled up 7-ish, 8-ish of different kind of writing advice he gave, mostly I think in his A Memoir on Craft, his On Writing a Memoir on Craft. But feel free to kind of jump in, free flowing. You don't have to raise your hand and things. So I'll start with the first one here, which is actually, I thought it'd be fun because also he quotes it a lot, but it's also coming from Anton Chekhov, one of the giants of short stories, which is kind of where my real heart is. And that's, don't tell me the moon is shining, show me the glint of light on broken glass, which I think is one of the most poetic writing advice out there. And Chekhov being a master is not surprising. And King focuses on that, I think, multiple times throughout the book. So that is the advice. How does everyone feel about it? Anyone want to jump in and go first and face the crucible? Go ahead.
I love it. I mean, but I'm a huge Gothic nerd, right? So I gravitate to books with prose. Now, with that being said, there has to be a limit. I don't need to know that the wallpaper color for like 3 to 5 pages in is making this person feel nauseous or weird. I mean, if Gilman Perkins was able to do it in a short story, then you should be able to wrap it up too.
Yeah.
The thing about that particular piece of advice is that it is surely what we all want to do, but it's an oversimplification, and it's really, really hard.
Sure.
Nice.
As I read that, I just thought, I'm not sure Stephen King has, reading his books back, I remember anything as poetic as that advice.
Right.
Chekhov sure has moments, because Chekhov has some really beautiful language. I don't know that Stephen King is the one that drives me to beautiful language. He's not the name. I
Agree.
think.
Go and reread. First of all, I thought Anton Chekhov was the navigator of the Starship Enterprise, but apparently not.
You have some summer reading, John. You need some Chekhov. I'm going to find you a book of Chekhov. That's when we show up at your house. I'm going to have that book for you.
Yeah, the other problem with Chekhov is that it's any one of those books is your summer and autumn reading, and probably part way into winter.
As you metamorphose into is that Chekhov?
That's a different writer.
That was right. Okay, never mind. It's
not all Russians are the same.
I have Jen
John.
to blame. No, I think Stephen King, his writing in Salem's Lot, which is my favorite of his. I wouldn't say The Stand is my favorite, except it has no ending. The ending sucks. But Salem's Lot, I think he's positively poetic in that. There's one scene where the chapter ends with "It became unspeakable," which is it's
but that's the thing, right? Sorry, Dario, go ahead.
No. I actually agree with that. Salem's Lot isn't one of my favorites, but I remember the writing in it. There are a few flashes of brilliance in The Stand, in the prose. I want a whole show devoted to the ending of The Stand because I think it's perfect, but nobody.
Somebody needs to. You think the ending is perfect?
Yeah, I really like the ending. I've read both the corrected version and the new one, but I think the Chekhov example is brilliant. I agree with Austin. It's maybe something we can all aspire to, but it's damn hard. Chekhov's also the one who I think, talked about the gun on the mantelpiece, that if it's
That's
in
it.
Act One,
Yeah.
it has
Shows
to
up
be
in the
used.
first
Chekhov
act.
also writes a lot of short stories. So unlike, it's not like all you can get a book of. That's what I'm going to get you one, John. Hold me to it too. If I show up to your door in September without a book of Chekhov short stories, like just turn me in the lovely Clara way. But his short stories for us short story writers, he's Mount Rushmore. He was pretty great with it. But he was the one that if you show a gun on the wall, I forget how he says it, like Act 1, Act 3, the gun should fire. Like
Right,
there's,
right, right.
Sure, yeah.
not wasting important details. Kind of essentially.
For the record, I came in with
But
Kafka.
I think Stephen King actually does have a beautiful prose. It's not what a lot of us are used to. It's not flowery language when it comes to like your traditionalist, but it's more attuned to his culture and where he's from specifically. So naturally, yes, he's still following that formula of, explaining on what this, that, and the other looks like. It might be a completely different language. Like I'm originally from Newark, New Jersey. So if I were to write like Stephen King did with characters from Jersey, there would be a lot of F words in there, but it would be beautiful. It would be like absolute beautiful. I mean, just like what you were saying, Austin, about Christopher Chambers. Like if you want to know about Street, that would be the book to pick up because like every one of us, right? We, are embedded within like our culture or just like our environment, and we have a beautiful prose, but it's not going to be exactly like Chekhov.
Right.
Well, I'm not comparing him to Chekhov. I'm going to be the Stephen King hater because no one else will. I don't remember, and actually I do like Stephen King. I read a lot of his books. I haven't recently. I can't tell you a single line I remember. Versus other writers that there will be a line that really sticks with me like throughout. That line from Chekhov where he was just describing a writing concept has stuck with me kind of throughout. So, but not to kind of debate Stephen King's writing ability so much, just the advice here, because him and Chekhov agree like in this matter. Diane, Sue, anyone else have any, like, how do you guys feel about it?
Yeah, I'm thinking, I've been reading Ann Beattie's short stories that she published in the New Yorker, and I'm a great fan of hers. And it made me think of the minimalists who, don't do that stuff. They don't, it's like Raymond Carver. You get the absolute blood, but you don't get the body, you don't get the hair. They cut right minimal, important stuff. And I wonder, some of the beauty of the language in those writers' pieces are that it is so spare. And they might say the moon is shining. And they may say it twice. But it's the almost exact opposite of what you're talking about. And there's a beauty in that fairness. And it may be because I'm reading these damn beach reads and they clear.
Damn it, Hallmark.
No, you're right.
It may
You're
be
right.
speed overdose, but the simplicity of language is very attractive to me.
Those writers, Carver and Beattie, they knew exactly what to say and when to say it. And even though those lines come across as like very straightforward, they've actually been like really, really deeply thought through.
There's a music to what they put down on paper.
Right.
That
Hemingway was insane.
Delicious. Yeah. And I hate Hemingway. I don't know what the difference is, but yes, there's just as much
chauvinism.
I know. Maybe so. There's just as much art in the skill of deletion as I think there is in beautiful prose. Sorry about
that's a good point. Dog. Yeah, they're both good writers.
Stephen King wrote a book of short stories. I think it was called Cat's Eye, and there was a story in it that was called Life of Chuck. And the way he put that together, Stephen King writes pretty well, goes with the flow. It's not that poetic, but the way he put that story together blew me away. It was probably one of the best short stories I've ever read. And when I finished it, I could not, I just sat there and thought, how does this man's mind work this way? Because it was incredible. He wrote this story backwards, and you didn't get it until you were at the end. And I was just blown away by that. And so I don't think you have to be, every line doesn't have to be that poetic, but the finished product certainly was.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's an important point to it, right? Is that I actually think rather than every line being poetic, especially like in a novel, I think you lose something if every line's poetic.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it starts like cloy, right? It's like if everything you eat is sweet, you don't appreciate the cookie at the end of your meal or whatever, whatever it might be.
Here's what.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead, John.
Here's what Stephen King does that I think is better than anybody else, and I found it it's influential on me. He writes in a vernacular.
Yes.
And his language choice when he's in a point of view character, the narrative is in that character's vernacular, and there's an earworm that happens in his writing. It's not about being flowery. He's a production writer. I'm a production writer. I'm not an artist, right? I write what I think are good stories, and I turn them out on a regular basis. So it's not about, he's not trying to be flowery. He's trying to get into your brain and bring you along on the story. And he does it exceptionally well.
Yeah.
I think John absolutely nails it there, because that's not only, and it's not only in his prose, but in his writing advice as well. Essentially, he's one of the very few authors of writing craft books who talks about honesty. Mm-hmm. And when he talks about honesty, he's talking about honesty in terms of both character, dialogue, and world. And I think a lot of authors, I think a lot of authors don't write in the vernacular. They self-censor in a way. Some people, maybe some people from New Jersey, certainly some people from England, use cursing as punctuation, and this is real. People do this. And I think King is very, very good at that. And he talks about honesty in his book. And the other thing he does very well, I think, is he's really tight on setting and character description. And I think in the book he talks about not liking excessive character description. I don't either.
Yeah, I don't either.
The reader's going to picture the character far better than we can. Maybe just give one, telling detail.
Don't spoil the bit. There's a bit about description later. Remember, I have 7 pieces of his advice.
Getting ahead of ourselves.
Stick to the one we're on for now, because we're probably going to come back to that 10.
Well, when talking about vernacular, aren't you really talking about voice? I haven't read much of Stephen King, but what I have read has a very specific voice. It's probably peculiar to certainly the East Coast or the Eastern Seaboard.
Maine.
But it's Maine in particular, but it's regional too. Anyway, to me, that's the defining voice, and it speaks as loudly to the characters. Certainly, the characters whose voice he's speaking in the narratorial voice, as any description, just in the use of language and the vernacular, to paint a place and a time and a socioeconomic class. That extremely
economic class is a good term, and I think that's part of his success. His people are so real; they're ordinary people in a lot of his stories. We can all relate to them, and they behave like real people from Maine in a lot of cases. Mm-hmm. So I think it's not narrative voice. I think it's character voice, but it's dialogue and more. It's very economical and very well done.
Sure. So can I ask then, getting back to that piece of advice about the glint of light on broken glass, right? So it sounds like the panel generally here doesn't actually agree that Stephen King follows that advice.
I think he's saying show, don't tell.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You think it's
Yeah.
that simple?
Yeah.
That seems like a long way to get the show. I think he's saying
Well,
like,
I mean, but that's Chekhov.
the moon is shining is boring. To say it in a more like dramatic way. I mean, I feel like you're being very generous to him.
Wow.
I think like all writing advice, he's a hypocrite like the rest of us. Anyone that gives writing advice, we're all
Certainly when
bloody
it comes to
hypocrites about it
adverbs.
because we'll break that the second like it pleases us. And that's
I
the
didn't
writing
hear it the
prerogative.
way you heard it, though. I don't think it's about plain versus flowery language. I think the message I got was, don't show me what's happening. Show me what's the effect.
Right.
impact?
Bingo.
Exactly.
Yep.
What's
Yeah.
happening. Jump to there. And I think we all want to do that. Nobody ever wants to write, Billy was scared. Somehow what you want to say is, Billy's eyebrows reached up almost to his hairline and his jaw dropped open or whatever.
Yeah.
Show me the impact. Don't just show me
I think
the
I think
So,
William does
so
have
if I
a,
took all of King's books and put them into my chat GPT and said, can you find me the phrase, the moon is shining? Who is going to bet me that I can find that somewhere in there?
I'm going to go back to Austin's point because I think it's really important. If you're going to talk about an environmental thing, whether it's sunlight or darkness or starlight or whatever, it's irrelevant unless it has an effect on the character or the story.
Yeah.
It doesn't belong
Right.
unless
Right.
there's a consequence
Yeah.
to what you've put in. And I think
Exactly.
that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
I think you guys are both right. I think Austin's right and William is right. Like I think that is what he's saying. He's talking about the effect, but it is like slightly ironic that he's phrasing it in such a way that you would never find that kind of phraseology or syntax in his writing. So something about that is a little bit off. I do like Stephen King, but I think you guys both have a point, actually.
Sure. Well, and I get it completely. Like the Moonlight and Broken Glass, right? That actually might but what if the mood isn't broken glass, right? That is a very particular moon, right? Moon. What if it is, a full Voss, right? I mean, I'm just throwing stuff out, right? But you may not feel like it's broken glass, but getting to how the characters are feeling with the setting, kind of matching that up. I mean, I get it. My greater point was just that as we go through all of these, we can go to the next one here, and this will prove my point even more. Is anyone on this panel going to tell me that Stephen King has never used an adverb?
Obviously not.
Because he will tell you that the road to hell is paved with adverbs.
Right.
That's
That is our next piece of writing advice.
Right.
no contest. You're so right, and it's
And then, again, I'm not trying to
Race,
bag on
you know?
Stephen King because I like King. I've read lots of his books. My point is just the greater point is no matter what anyone tells you about writing is always to kind of keep your heckles up because all writing advice is both good and bad depending on the circumstance.
90%, 95% of adverbs, I believe, are unnecessary. Talk to my editor. She's an adverb murderer. She does not like that.
Writing.
But I want to go back to the glint of the moon or the sun, whatever the hell it was on the broken glass. There's no character I have ever written that would notice that. However, noticing the sun flare on a rifle scope from out there, okay.
oh yeah.
Now we've got a thing because that's my genre, right? So
Sure.
just wanted to throw that out there. Doesn't have to be a broken glass.
It doesn't? Doesn't? Absolutely. And I don't think
I
it's
find
bad
myself
advice, actually.
reading King and looking for adverbs.
I will now.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling
And I
stole
have
all
found
of
a
them.
few.
Oh
So,
God, yes.
and it takes me
did.
totally out of the story because
Not
I know how he
Stephen
feels
King.
about them.
But Elmore
That's gonna be
Leonard,
my activity for the summer.
you can go chapters of Elmore Leonard without seeing an adverb.
Sure.
His
Right.
entire writing style is subject, predicate, noun, verb, noun, verb,
Yeah,
noun,
right.
and you can't deny that it's great stuff.
The shorter the better, usually.
Yes.
Do you ever find yourself reading a book and seeing a couple adverbs there and thinking, damn, Stephen King would hate this? Because I know I do.
No, I do not, but that's
I
know.
turn off my writer brain. I literally try to turn off my writer brain when I read and just kind of read it and enjoy it. That's what I
it's
hated
so
about
hard.
college.
It's
I
hard,
hated
but me
dissecting
too.
everything.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think reading
Can't
for
do it
me, like,
either. Sorry.
at this point in time is so personal that I try not to like, I really try not to, unless the book is like really outrageously poorly made. I mean, I really just try not even to judge it. It's more just like, okay, am I connecting with this? Like, is this resonating with me?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. I'm going to put it down. Doesn't mean it's bad. Probably will resonate with someone else, just not with me. It's a very like personal, intimate experience for me, right? And it can be kind of selfish. Like, okay, this is just not my. I wouldn't go to a bar and have a beer with this particular narrator. So
Right.
I'm gonna.
Well, there's some stuff
Yeah.
you read and you kind of it wasn't ready for print.
Right,
Sure.
right.
Sure.
And I see that even, I mean, all across. Some I've picked up a few traditionally published books, and was like, this was not. I don't know what happened. This is not ready to.
I think
for
they
me to
rush.
be
It's like
buying at a
Hollywood. They rush a
bookstore.
lot of them out quickly.
Yeah,
It's the
and
AI.
indie books too, but the AI, yeah, AI loves adverbs.
Yeah.
So Stephen King will not be a person that reads the AI, because the one thing I know about AI is adverbs and adjectives, like 30 of them every sentence. So
They truly, really love adverbs.
yeah, go ahead, John.
Permission to speak heresy.
Of course.
I don't like Elmore Leonard. I think his style is so sparse that I feel the same way about Hemingway, actually, but in kind of a different way. It's almost repertorial as opposed to engrossing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the sparsity of his language.
So you feel parched at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, I just never really bond with anybody.
Right.
It's like I'm watching a play as opposed to living a life. And
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it. I think sometimes with that sparseness, I think Hemingway has a few stories that always stuck with me. Was the emptiness at the end, right? And he was a guy that felt empty, right? And clearly, right? But so I mean, some of those kind of hit me with that empty feeling at the end. But I mean, I get it. I mean, I think it's. I don't think there's a right way exactly, but I think sometimes when you go super sparse or you go super flowery, right? I think if you can kind of hit in between and use that sparse language when it really has that effect you want, and use
really
something maybe a
matters.
little more flowery when it really matters, and you want to, going back to that mimetic fallacy kind of thing, use that when you want to get through. You need to describe something that's important, but maybe not essential to the plot, moving forward. Using all those techniques I think is the best way. But again, I don't think there's not. I don't know. I don't know that there is a best way. I'm saying that, but I think it's the best way for you or.
I would agree with that. I think
reader.
you want to mix it up. If someone were telling you, if you imagine, reading, it's like someone telling you a story in a room, you wouldn't want that person just to be like this type of sentence, this type of sentence, this type of sentence. You'd be so bored. You gotta you gotta mix it up, right? Short sentences, long sentences, flowery, whatever the prose calls for, whatever the voice calls for. But it's got to be. You can't just be the one trick.
And I think that's where the art comes in. I really do. Is that there is no rule. I mean, there are rules, but they're almost always bad, and they almost always misleading. I think what there is ear. I think you hear things that work, and you hear things that don't. And if you're a visceral writer like I am, I never took a writing class. I don't believe in them. Well, some people are improved by them. I would be confused. Rules just get in the way. So, but if you go by your ear and gut, there's a sweet spot in language like a tennis racket where it just goes pop and you got it. You nailed it. And it could be a lengthy description or it could be a 3-word one. But I think so much of that in the end is instinctual.
That's what I always come back to.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the big strengths for me of King's little on writing manual is that it's more inspirational than prescriptive. It's not full of rules. He talks about the toolbox, but he doesn't harp on a lot. And I think probably he talks about ear at one point, and I think you've absolutely hit it. But I think the strongest thing about the book for me, and my biggest takeaway from it, is that he talks about writing as a job, rather than this precious airy-fairy thing that you do when the muse arrives and the Mercury isn't in retrograde or anything. It basically says you sit down every day and you write, and if you're there at the same time every day, your muse comes when they're ready. But I think the idea of it being like any other job is really, it's one of the best pieces of writing advice you can give anyone.
I agree. I agree with both of you. I agree with Dario and Diane. I think that's what I keep coming back to too with writing these days. It's just like I've tried all the tricks. I've tried to, this type of advice, that type of advice. But at the end of the day, it's just you sitting with the page and just like a jigsaw puzzle, putting pieces together and seeing and listening and seeing what's working and seeing what isn't. And it is also, like a job. A lot of times it doesn't work out and it's frustrating. But then sometimes it clicks. Like there is no like rhyme or reason to it. It's just something that happens. Like it goes from the subconscious to the page and you shape it. It's,
I mean, that's what like a lot of advice is, right? It's relative to the person. But I agree, Jesse, because, you can get conflicting advice towards your own one particular writing, which like I've had that. And it's just like, then you end up having too many voices in your head and somehow your own voice is like lost in the sauce. And,
exactly.
So it's like you have to take all of it with a grain of salt. There you go, another piece of advice.
I think we all instinctually, there's a societal thing. We back away from the notion of artistry and talent because it's hard to speak of oneself in those terms.
It is.
But the fact is, not everybody can do this. And it's that X factor of knowing what works and what doesn't, knowing when 3 words out of a 10-word sentence is right, as opposed to adding 3 words to a 7-word sentence makes it right. And that's the X factor, right? And there's a lot of hard work. There's more than a little luck. There's a lot of other things that go into it. But what we do is, as storytellers and as writers, is different than any other job. And I think even as I say this, I'm feeling kind of embarrassed. It feels so self-aggrandizing, right? But it's different. Not everybody can paint a picture.
Different.
Absolutely.
I've been writing on Facebook lately. I've tried an author page because I've told other people they should do it, but I'm trying my own advice. and I'm talking in some ways about what it's like to actually write. That there's no glamour, there's no magic formula. In the end, we can only write what we can write. And there are good days when you feel very confident, and then there are the days when you think you have no business doing this at all. But you're alone. I mean, I think every rule I've ever heard set me back months, if not years.
Right. Sure.
Right.
They're good until they don't work anymore. So I think that there's a big portion.
They
of
have
magic.
a use, and that use can come to an end at any time, right? I had the last episode as we record this was Reed Farrell Coleman, Austin, who we did at C3. He came on and did a longer episode, and he was talking about that. He's like, the thing I always tell people that say they want to be a writer, I'm like, you know what? Tomorrow, go to your living room, where you can be alone. You're going to be alone, and you're going to sit there for 2 hours, and you're going to write anything, grocery list, whatever. But you're not going to do anything except for write for 2 hours. And if you don't hate it, you might be able to be a writer.
That's so much of what it is.
No chance, And there's that bit. You got to, if you're not comfortable like doing the work, There's a bit of I was described as lame brick, right? That even like sometimes it comes really easily and it feels like magic, you know, feel like the muses are with you. Other times it comes hard, and that's the when you got to just have that lame brick mentality. Like I'm building this fence, I'm going out, I'm gonna lay the next thing, and I did it when I was writing Pirates. I listed some chapters where I felt like I was just laying brick, and I was like, I'm gonna come back to those because those ones maybe need a little more work. When I came back to them, I'm reading through and I could not tell you how they were different from the other chapters. And sometimes the magic ones, I was like, oh, this came so easily. It's magic. And those are the ones that needed more editing. So I don't know that like it's in that moment. I don't think it's always so easy to know. I mean, some writers maybe are more sensitive than I am, but I think you have to have some faith in yourself and you have to draft. Right? There's a drafting process for a reason.
I find when it feels like I'm doing a job, I don't write as well as if when I feel like I'm in the moment where everything else disappears. And if I continue writing when I feel like it's a job and I come back to it, I usually have to change too many things that I can even mention.
Have you ever showed it to anyone else?
Have I ever showed it to anyone else?
Yeah. Have you ever noticed if anyone else notices?
No, I've never showed my crap to anyone else. If I think I'm brilliant, sometimes I do, but you know how that is. But I just feel like when you're really in that groove, you can just pump it out. But if it feels like a job to me, and that might not be any of the rest of you, and I know it's not with Stephen King, I just feel like I don't write as well.
I have a favorite story where I was contacted a few years ago by a high school career counselor who said, I have a student who'd like to shadow you for a day. Oh. And I said, oh, really? What does he think he's going to see? I'm going to either be typing or I'm going to be eating. Those are neither of those is particularly interesting. So let's do that. And she said, well, I guess that's true.
I love you so much, Diane.
Lectured me. I loved it. I know what good snacks are. I can pass that on.
There you go.
Nervous eating and oyster crackers go together really well, but as far as what happens, it's really not all that visible. Anyway.
Like, what is a meal anyway? It's just snacks around the keyboard.
Yeah. M&M's.
Yeah.
Bubblegum. Oyster cracker.
The more crumbs in the keyboard, the more productive you've been.
I usually get
amen.
I've had like family members ask like, okay, like they say I want to write a story, write a book about my life. Like, well, how should I go about it? And I'm just like, just write it. Just write it. I was like, I know it sounds crazy. Just put it on the paper. Worry about how you're going to align things and edit it later. Because trust me, you'll be writing like 10 different versions of it. Just start with the first one. Just be messy with that first one. Because oh my gosh.
And
but Sue, I have a question for you. So like for me personally, I try to to me it's a job in that I try to dedicate a certain amount of time every day to writing, right? Whether I want to, or I always want to, but whether something's going to come out or not. So do you, with your process, do you just kind of write when you feel inspired, or do you have a set routine?
I have two speeds.
Okay.
One is 100 miles per hour, and the other one is take a nap. But when I'm at it, I can get half a book done, I mean, in a couple of months. So I just kind of trust myself that when I feel it, it's going to happen. So that's sense. The only thing I can tell you. It frustrates me too much when I try to write. When I need to write, then it's okay. Then it's great.
So it just depends.
It depends. It really does depend. I mean, I can go for a couple of months without putting a word to paper, and then I can go for 6 months with writing 4 hours a day.
So when you do feel the burst of inspiration, do you try to complete the project during
Yes.
that time?
Yes.
So it's not like you're leaving characters for a long period of time and then coming back.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Usually when I do have that burst of inspiration, one idea kind of just melds into another. And a lot of times I'll be writing the very last chapter and then try to make everything mesh.
Yeah.
And to me, that works. It's kind of scary to other people when they don't know what the in between part is, but it's a story. I feel like almost like it's a story that's been written before, and I'm just rewriting it in my time. You know what I mean? It's like it's already there.
Well, interestingly, King talks about that in his book. He talks about, a story as kind of as a found object. He talks about it being like, finding a fossil in the ground, and at first you start tapping at it with your chisel, and then you dust it off carefully.
Interesting.
I think the found object metaphor works for pantsers.
I think so too. And sometimes you're very careful and you try to dust it off, and it's a piece of granite. And then on to the next.
That's great, though.
It's funny. I think about that a lot. I think of it like sculpting. Yeah. So that found object, I can kind of see is that whatever it is, I kind of like, I start just looking for a form to it. I have this idea and I start, chipping away. And I'm like, what's the form to this? How do I make sense of what's happening here? And even if it was granite, I would just chip away. I'd make a statue out of that granite. I just kind of find what that is. Cause, I think a superpower that doesn't get talked about is just kind of a rational belief. Like, you know what I mean? Like, especially as a writer, if you just have an irrational belief in yourself and what you're doing and follow it through, even though all rationality tells you stop doing that, you idiots. Yeah. Like, the whole, was it Gandalf, turn back, you fools, or run, you fools, and he's blocking the path. That can lead you to things. And the things that are, I think, most precious are the things you get led to that you weren't expecting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like the moments when something happens that you weren't expecting at all, but it's perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah.
That's the magic part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say, so just as there's no, based on what Sue's saying, like, just as there's no rhyme or reason or rules to, like, what you produce when you're writing, I think there's also really no rhyme or reason or rules to the process. For me, it's a job. I look at it that way, but not necessarily Sue. I mean, even the process itself is just, there's no, like, I feel like we want to control it. We want to be able to, like, codify it in some way, but you can't. It's beyond us. Like, writing, I think, is...
maybe you don't need to.
Exactly.
So not to get all corporate here, right? But I was a quality regulatory director until this last year. And so I dealt with process constantly, with manufacturing, people not in manufacturing, every process you could ever think of in a corporation was kind of my specialty, And one of the things that you find very quickly is that your process in a lot of ways dictates your outcome. So different process, you will get a different outcome out of it, right? So you can think of that really clearly with manufacturing, right? If I have a process where you glue something and then now I add a fabric here and then I do a stitch. If you do that conversely, I add a stitch and then I glue after, right? I'm going to add something to the glue, right? You're doing something very different. You can see it when you manufacture an actual process, how important it is to go through. So as a writer, if you're looking for something and you want to write something different, I sometimes do change my process by project, depending on what I'm doing, because I have a different outcome I'm trying to get to. Not wildly, because at the end of the day, you have to sit your butt down and write something, right? And there's no avoiding sitting your butt down and writing. But the process that you go through to get there, that can change. So it's important that you do it, intentionally, right? But I think there's a lot of there's a lot of leeway in it as long as you're still being dedicated to it.
Yeah.
You could be professional about it. I also think of it a lot like you can. I used to say you can be a professional or a hobbyist. I actually think there's kind of a third category, which is kind of the Olympian. Because if you think about most of these Olympians in the U.S., especially most around the world, they don't make any money. They might be the best in the world at cross-country archery. They work just as hard as any other Olympian. They don't make the money, but they still have that work ethic, and they still have to have a real, big boy job, at the end of the day. So I do think there's those writers that fall more into that Olympian than just the hobbyist, but having the professionalism about it, or I like the dedication about it. Getting your whatever you're doing, getting back to it.
Dedication can show up in different ways. Like for Sue, as she was saying, like when she feels moved, like that's her dedication, that's her time, that's her window. When she doesn't, she doesn't. Like for me, the dedication is like it's just something that whether I think something's gonna work or not, it's something I do every day. So I think it can show up in different ways.
Right. I wish I could be that way. I really
same.
I mean, I also am kind of envious of you. I think there's a real freedom in the way you approach it, and sometimes I feel like, why don't I just like not do this today and go do something like, and maybe that's something I can put into my practice. So
it shows that you own it; it doesn't own you. And I'm the other way around. My jaw dropped when you were talking, Sue, because I don't think I could go 3 or 4 days without writing.
Right, in the same way.
Even if for some reason I wanted to, I don't think I can.
I feel like I get as much work done as maybe the rest of you.
You probably do.
It comes in big time-eating bursts. And I don't know. It's just the way it works for me.
I'm Team Sue. When doing a draft, I'm the same way where it's just like, I hate to say it, like when a muse hits. So for me, it's like I'm watching a movie in my head and I'm just there, like writing all out. And my characters are like nagging at me 24/7 until the whole thing is done. I've had days where like I may had to like clear up the first draft. Where I did it in 3 days, solid 24/7 because I was so pumped. Now that adrenaline after that's done, then I'm just like, I fucking hate you.
It was like coming too fast to get it on the paper. It's like your brain is working faster than your fingers.
Yeah, it's almost like a clairvoyancy, right? The ones that like,
yes.
What did you call it? The ones that write and they're just writing.
Automatic writing.
Yeah.
I ducked out for a couple of minutes, so I hope I'm not missing the point here. But from my perspective, I'm a factory worker, and I don't mean that in an apologetic way at all. I owe a manuscript on a date certain. And as a result of that deadline, there are copy editors that are scheduled to take care of what I've written. And then that goes, so there's this whole schedule that I have to meet. And as a professional writer, my next book is due on January 15th, God help me, which means that I hope to have it done before Thanksgiving. We'll see. Probably not. But for me, as a commercial writer with 30 books and hopefully a lot more in me, I write to the deadline, which means you got to write through the days that you don't want to write, and then you fix it in post. You go back and
it changes things a lot when you write to a deadline.
It does. But I need the deadline.
Thinking about writing to a deadline makes me want to stick a fork in my eye.
It's horrible.
or even reading Melville.
We found a whole litany of things that put forks in their eyes for it. So, we're just in the sake of time, let's hit one more piece of writing advice from Mr. King here, and then I do have, I think I forgot to mention it, but I do like to do a toast of the night. So, as we go through the last one, if anyone wants to think of anyone you want to give a shout out, just congratulations to writing, non-writing. We'll cover those for our toast of the night segment right at the end here. But let's see if something's maybe a tad different than what we've been talking about here. Actually, let's talk about this. So this one was a fun one here. The scariest moment is always just before you start.
I agree with that, especially if you're not a pantser. I mean, us pantsers have it easier in that we just put something down and see where we go. We don't feel that responsibility to carry out an entire manuscript that we've already thought through. But, you know, once you're into the words of it some days are quite pedestrian, and you know you can fix it later. I mean, there's almost nothing that you can't turn around and edit to death. But the prospect of starting a new book for me is huge. Because if nothing else, it's commitment of, for me, a minimum of a year to a year and a half, probably more. And so it's like taking a deep breath and getting ready to run another marathon when you're not sure you're rested from the last one. So I would say that is a scary, maybe not the scariest moment, way up there.
Endings are scary for me. Endings, especially with poetry. I can't. I don't know where to land the plane. And then when I land the plane, I don't know if I'm on a runway or, you know, I ended up in the wilderness somewhere.
Yeah, you overshot it by 300 feet and you're in the neighborhood. You know.
That ending scared me, for sure.
I think my scariest part is when I get to the middle, when you get to that flat part where you know you have to keep it going because you know what the ending's going to be, but you got to get there and there's got to be at least like 30,000 words in between where you are and where you want to be. And it scares me that it'll be, you know, boring or too flat or just not right. That middle part really is my scary part.
Why, does there have to be 30,000 words? I wonder about this whole packaging. Like I love I realized this not too long ago, maybe 6 months ago, was how many novels that we talk about today, like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Like you can go on and on until about the late 70s, novels that get taught in school that were serialized. And I think it's kind of that, like, do you need 30? Like I understand you need to fit a package when you're doing kind of like you were saying, John, like here, I need to produce this and there's all this coming up and it needs to fit into that package to some degree, right? Yeah, I'm sure there's some leeway in words and such, but it needs to be the general package you're fitting into. But does every novel really need to be so, you know, the second act needs to be 20,000 words, 30,000 words till I hit the next thing? Like, is that really necessary?
Depends on if you want a commercial publisher or not. If you're going traditional, you need to fit within a window. I mean, there's some flexibility there, but a novella isn't going to sell.
Right.
Even
and as a reader,
has trouble with novellas. Sorry, Sue?
As a reader, I'm not going to buy a book that's 200 pages. I'm just not going to.
It depends, though. If the language is dense, I mean, think of like Heart of Darkness, or I mean, there have been some really great novellas.
Maybe I'm really superficial, but I want to be entertained longer than that.
I think it also depends on the genre, doesn't it? Like, I mean, you know, I don't know. Like, I'm sort of on the fence. You know, I could agree with what Sue was saying. Like, especially when you have like a really good book, you don't want it to end.
Right.
You kind of just want it to keep going. And I think, yes, that's what they're looking for in commercial publishing. But, you know, you also have like your non-traditional published writers where they're doing the short novellas. And yes, your beach reads, aren't those like short read as well? Because I don't want to read about
just
all of that stuff.
Yeah, of Mice and Men, which is, I mean, Steinbeck's one of his greatest work. I don't know if it's 90 pages.
Yeah, there have been so many.
Alfred Bester used to say the book is the boss, and that's the bottom line. I think every story has its length, and a lot of the time they do fit a 3-act structure, which is somewhere between 70 and 90,000 words. That seems to be how far most novel size ideas will go, to me anyway. But definitely until 30 or 40 years ago, the average novel was what we call a long novella now. It was 60,000 words, maybe 160 pages. Yeah, Heart of Darkness, as I think Jesse mentioned.
Darkness, sure.
It's right in that length. Now we expect 300 or 400 pages, especially from genre work. And I think these are all, this is the publishing industry dictating things for its own warped idea of economics and its idea that it knows the secret sauce. In the real world, every story has its length, and the writer should write it to that fucking length.
Yeah, that's really true.
It's fuck the publisher's word count.
That's true.
And that's
I feel like you have to
the authors, because we can do that.
You're either, you're writing, if you follow that logic, which I believe in 100%, like you're either going to end up writing something that's commercially viable or not. But that's kind of beside the point, right? It's just what's supposed to come out.
And as for beach reads, I don't know. I guess it depends on how long your vacation is. I mean, I'll pick up, like, if I'm going to be gone 10 days, that book's going to be this big.
Yeah.
And it's going to have an umbrella.
You can pick up 3
books.
And you can hit the used bookstore and pick up 3 books just as easily for that length.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm actually surprised, Sue, that you're the one saying that, considering neither of your books is very long.
No, they're not that long, but they're almost 300 pages.
She's like, that's not the point.
But, the page number also depends on how big the book is and everything else, right? There's like word count, and there's so I don't know. How do you feel about it, John, being the one here with the 30 traditionally published books? How do you go when you're
30? Wow.
I don't find anything about this process frightening, and it's not I'm in the entertainment business. If I approach it from being scared, I don't know how you translate that. I actually don't know how to structure this answer. I spent a couple of decades in the fire service where you do things that are really important, and sometimes you fuck it up. Screw it up, and then you have to adapt. And to me, that's sort of the model for everything else. You start a story. And I am a pantser. I don't outline, and you make wrong decisions, but that's okay. I've got a 9-month window for this thing, so you go and you make the corrections. And somehow I am also not trained. I hate talking about my process because I don't know what my process is. I don't know that I have one, but somehow miraculously it works out every time. My contract, traditional publisher, is for a 100,000 word book. If I turn in 80,000 or 120,000, it doesn't matter as long as the story is complete. 60,000,
right?
Well, that's my dedication. So I don't I write long.
John, if you were left to your own devices, is there kind of a natural length that you would write to anyway?
Probably 85, 90.
Because I do write to pretty much the same length no matter what the book is, just because that seems to be the way it works out. So that's
what's the difference is when you get to the 3rd act, I write thrillers. Okay. So thrillers, I'm going to go into shtick here, but the worst sin that a writer can commit is to squander drama. Right. So when that 3rd act is playing out, you do as many points of view and just squeeze every bit of angst and blood and whatever out of the scene. So that's like a 20,000 word variable right there, depending on what's going on. But the part of a book I hate is page 200 to 300. It's just that's where you've done all the cool stuff, and the really cool stuff isn't coming yet, and you have to make it all make sense in the middle.
Exactly.
That's the part. I think that's where I earn my living, right? That's why not everybody can do this, is to figure out how to make that.
Honestly, most books I read, especially contemporary, I feel that drag so much, that like 200 to 300 page drag, and I'm like, what happened to the book that started so well and like really got my attention? Now it's just, we're going off on all these tangents and connecting all these dots, and it's so boring. Like, get back.
Here's where the poison can come in. If from my point of view, I love you all, right? This is not directed at anybody. But if you start thinking too much about the language, you start thinking too much about the poetry of it, a thriller is about heartbeat. And, it's things have to happen, but they have to happen in a way that makes you like or dislike, depending, the character. It has to feel organic to the character. It's really, action scenes are the scenes I hate writing most, because it's just
really hard. They're my favorite.
Really?
Oh no, God, no. The choreography, it takes forever.
Oh. I found it. A lot of people say that. I have a rule with
that's the fun
film
part.
that a book should be engaging from the beginning. By about halfway, it should be hard to put down. And at the 2/3 point, it needs to be impossible to put down.
See, that I don't find that.
I'm a genre reader, but that's the rule of thumb.
I like that.
The kind of Act 2, late Act 2 doldrums are really, really common.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I always wonder about.
It was funny to hear John say that about the action scenes, as I envision my work, and I'm the plotter here, not the pantser. So I'm the oddball here. But I envision my work, every scene is an action scene. If something isn't happening, I don't write that scene.
Right.
We jump over that scene.
That way.
Let's get to something happening.
Good for you. Yeah.
I've only read one of your books, John, and I loved it. But I think when you're talking about action scenes, if your other work, and I suspect there's a lot of similarity, is like it. When you say action scene, you've got a lot of pieces in motion. You've got a lot of stuff going on. This isn't one person. This isn't one person locked in a fight with another person. You've got a lot going on.
And that's you read No Mercy, so we got all those moving parts. The choreography it took me
traffic
forever to
nightmare.
write.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, they call them in the movie industry, right? Set pieces.
Right.
And when I had Steve Hunter on, he talked about that. There's the set pieces, right? And that you have action at different times, but you have the set piece where a lot is going on, and in the movie that's the big. They might happen at different times, but here's a big scene where everything's going on, and there's explosions and yada yada. But
and not to get too far into the weeds on this, just if you're doing multiple points of view in a very kinetic scene, you have to make sure the reader doesn't get lost in the action as you shift from one point of view to the other, right? So it's really, I find it exhausting. It takes forever, probably 20% of the writing time.
Yeah, there's some fantasy, like I just kind of recently got into like fantasy reading, and there were some fantasy books where I'm just like, wait, how did this person do this? It made no sense to their character, and then I'm just like, oh, this is a completely different character speaking now. They jump from POVs so rapidly that I am like, all right, you know what? It's too much. It's too much. It's too long. And I agree with Jesse that half the time I'm sitting there like, this could have been an email. Like, it's just like, yes, I agree. Wrap it up. Yeah, no, it is, because like, you're promised something at the very beginning, and, you're in there, you're immersed into the world, and, you're seeing all this happen, and you're feeling it, and then
excited about what's going to come.
Yeah, exactly. And then at the end, it's just like, why?
It's almost like a different writer pops in.
It's like, what happened?
What happened to that cool voice?
Jesse, I'm not a huge poetry fan. I'm
okay.
a lazy reader. I don't, I like
it's
to be
a vast
taken on a
tapestry.
journey. So
Hey, people's supposed to be for the people.
no,
Poetry is for the people.
there's absolutely no criticism here, but your goal for the summer is to read more Seamus Heaney.
Mhm.
What is it about the poetry? It ain't the plot and it's not the action, right? So what is it about reading poetry that you find not just engaging, but compelling?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like great poets are able to use language in a way that just pulls me really, really deeply into their consciousness. And I get very, very close to another person, almost to the point where like I can just live inside their skin, feel their heartbeat, see the way they see the world in a very unique way. And I feel, yeah, very close to another when it's really good poetry. And they do that through the way their syntax and the way they use language. So it's a much more like personal, intimate it's not like storytelling at all. I mean, it could be, I guess, but
It
it's
can.
more about inhabiting another consciousness, which I think is
Yeah.
so cool. Sorry, Dario, were you going to say
No,
something?
I think Jessica was going to say something first.
Well, I mean, I don't know if anyone else here is, but I am a poet, and like I agree with Jesse. It's kind of like, like you're reading our diary, like very set pieces that you're just so completely vulnerable in. But some poetry actually does have action in it, and it can have a plot. And there's like the pacing and tensing, and yes, the language itself, the rhythm of it, right? And also as a horror writer, using that same rhythm that I would use in poetry helps out with, making the reader feel exactly what I was feeling as I wrote the piece.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's the Highwayman and the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere and the Raven. That's old school storytelling, metered poetry, but that's not modern poetry.
Well, you know what that is? That's modern, what they call flash fiction. What we call flash fiction now is very much was prose poetry, back in the day. I always think of it like if you really want to know like how talented you are as a writer, poetry is the absolute. You have the fewest words to get across what you're trying to get. If you want to wreck someone, if you want to tell someone what beauty is, what love is, and the least amount of words, that's poetry. And you have to be able to get there in 50 to 100 words, whatever it might be. Then you go to short story. Well, they say flash fiction now. However you want to parse that. Flash fiction, like 1,000-ish words, then short stories, then novels. But poetry to me is the hitting the heart. And like that's the how do you get a heart or just a really deep philosophical something you want to get to that has character. It can have all of the beats or it can have less of the beats, but it has to get there. And like it actually takes. And I don't consider myself one of these writers because I don't write much poetry, but I actually think it takes a lot more talent to be able to use that less amount of words and still get that same impact you might get from a 400-page novel, hitting the outside.
I'm absolutely with this. I read poetry, and it's actually, when I'm writing, it's my starting exercise. I'll read poetry for about 15 or 20 minutes before I start writing. It's the essence and the distillation of language. It's the imagery. It is the intimacy of it. But I'm not for much modern poetry. I kind of stop around Dylan Thomas. But I love the classical poets, and it is storytelling, but the concentration of language, the imagery, you can't use the wrong word. Every word needs to be the right word. It's so unforgiving when it's well done. And I find it wonderful. That's not to say I like every poet, but most of especially the British classic poets I love. And I like epic poetry, especially the longer forms. Christina Rossetti's Goblin Market is just incredible. Tam O'Shanter by Robert Burns. So I think you either like it or you don't. I think it's another of those things that we're turned off at school.
Sure. Well, and in recent times, it has gotten to be the. I was joking. I had a really great Southern poet on named Ray McManus on the show. Dear Lord, I guess a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. At this point, I didn't realize I was doing the show so long, but. And we had talked about that because he was like, poetry used to be, that was actually the medium for the people. It wasn't the highbrow thing that like they went. That was what the lowbrow people did, just like the lowbrow people did Shakespeare. Shakespeare was, everyone went to watch the shows. So, and it was meant to be, hey, the people that don't have time to sit and read a novel because they have to go work in the steel mill or they have to go work in the salt mines, whatever it might be, but they still wanted to have that existential experience that, that experience outside of themselves. They could sit down and read a couple poems, after work without, and now that's what I guess they come home and do a shot of Jack and watch a sitcom now. But, no judgment. Besides the shot of Jack, no judgment because I'm doing the shot of Jack.
But it still is for the people. So I personally I don't write in a contemporary style. I admire the shit out of slam poets because to be able to just stand up in front of a microphone and drop so many lyrics that are so interconnected with each other. So I don't know if it's necessarily more of an urban thing for that style of poetry. But I always hearken it to I love Wu-Tang. I love Wu-Tang. If you listen to their, or even just read their lyrics, granted, the message is not something that most people can connect with. However, it's just the way they can get from one verse to another and seam it all together to sort of incorporate not just, old classic kung fu movies, but to also incorporate just every bit of pop culture information that you can think of and outside of that as well. And just the amount of word usage. And it's the same thing with slam poets, modern contemporary poets, they just have very beautiful pieces that have strong messages. And so I think poetry is still for the people. It just really all depends on what you prefer to read.
Agreed.
Yep.
Can I tie this back to Stephen King?
Back. Bring us home.
Only because he mentions in On Writing that he met his wife Tabitha or Tabby at a poetry group.
Oh, nice.
And whereas everybody else had this really heavy prose poetry that didn't go anywhere, didn't really have any meaning, she had a complex poem, and he talks about it sounding I think he says something about sounding like it's got taut wires humming through the verses.
Oh.
And so, it's song lyrics are the same. A lot of song lyrics are the distillation of storytelling. In one of my books, I wrote a little craft book, and I quote the song, The Devil Came Down to Georgia.
He was looking for a soul to steal. He was in a bind, his way behind, and willing to make a deal.
if you
Camp on this young boy, sell a fiddle and playing it hot.
If you read The Devil Came Down to Georgia, within the first 2 or 3 lines, he's got a setup. A couple of lines later, he's got the conflict, and then he ups the stakes. It's just storytelling at its tightest, and it's poetry, of course.
Sure.
The problem is in that the music does not match the lyrics. Where this kill the devil riff that he does It's just not all that good.
Yeah, I'm not big on that riff either. I know the one you mean.
Yeah.
Very good. Awesome. Well, so thanks everyone. So I know we're a little behind, but anyone that wants to stay on, I would like to do the toast of the night. So anyone
I
has a
would like to
toast
say
they wanna
one
get?
Stephen King thing.
Okay.
I think
say
the
one
best
Stephen
advice
King thing.
the best advice I got from Stephen King is never shit in the woods and wipe your ass with poison ivy. Anyway,
so actually, do you want a quick aside of a real story of not shitting in the woods, but shitting
I
yourself?
cannot wait to hear the segue
ways.
here.
Yeah. We were in the Appalachian woods visiting my family, and we were staying at Airbnb, and there was a hammock. And it's right on the edge of the forest there. And I'm like, I'm going to go sit in that hammock. And it's right down there's a ravine, right? And my wife was like, don't go sit in the hammock. You never sit in the hammock. You're going to fall down that ravine. I'm like, before we leave, I'm going to sit in that hammock. I'm love it. So I try to sit in that hammock. I do the Gilligan's Island, of course, immediately. Flip over, slide all the way down the hill. And she has it all on video. I think I have it on one of the shows.
Then we need to see it. You need to send me that video.
Yeah, you have to stitch it to the editing.
I'll stitch it. But so I slide down and I'm fine, right? Nothing happens. We come home and about 2-3 days later, I have this rash on the small of my back. And I have no idea what's going on. Like, why is that I have this rash? It's like I have poison ivy. I don't understand. And lo and behold, finally, like I have to and it grows like to enormous, stretching on my back. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I get the poison ivy stuff and I do it. And I'm like, I have no idea how I got poison ivy. And so I asked my niece and she's like, oh yeah, it's when you tried to sit in that hammock. You fell over there because that's right on the edge of the forest where all the poison oak, I think it was poison oak. The edge of the forest is where all the poison oak is. So you fell right down in the poison oak. Your back scraped along as you went, and now you have poison oak. So,
do you have video of discovering the poison oak, like on your back too?
I didn't do that part because my wife decided to do the other one because she knew I was going to make a fool out of myself. Which, good on her, she was correct.
The moral of the story is, men, always listen to your wife.
Amen.
Speaking of which,
God, Bill,
I
if
do have to go.
If you don't end this this session with that video, you're really missing out on a great opportunity.
So, Jesse, before you go, who's going to be at BoucherCon?
What?
At BoucherCon in New Orleans,
no.
World Mystery Convention. Anybody?
No.
Okay. I will.
All right.
Nice.
Much love to you guys.
Sure.
I have
I'm going to have to check out as well, guys.
See you, Jesse.
I'll catch you on the next go ride.
William, thank you. Dario, so good to see you. Nice to meet you.
I owe you an email,
you
Jessica.
too.
I'll be reaching out to you.
Okay.
Later on, fellas.
Bye.
All right, bye, guys.
So let's talk about Jesse and Austin.
Yeah.
What
do you really think? You know, it's a.
I've had my doubts about those two for some time.
I don't think they should sit at the cool table next time.
No, they definitely can't sit with us.
Very cool. Awesome then. So whoever wants to start, toast of the night.
I don't understand.
I do.
Okay.
This is this is a shout out to Sue, who has just entered the world of commercial fiction with a short story that she has placed, and I'm very proud of her. It started as a challenge among just a few of us to do something fun, and she did it brilliantly and solid. So I'm so damn proud of her. I can hardly stand it.
Oh, Diane, I could hug and kiss you.
A big
Pro sale.
Very, very good. Congratulations. So what's the name of the piece? Where was it placed?
Well, if you're not too embarrassed, you could probably buy it. It'll be like in between the National Enquirer and the Tic Tacs at the checkout stand at the grocery store.
Let me tell the story, because you won't. Every week, Woman's World, which is the magazine, does a 5-minute romance. And so the challenge amongst a few of us was to see if we could write one basically to spec. And it's not necessarily what she would have written otherwise, but she did such a damn good job that they immediately, and this is like a 4 to 6 month window of you may hear from us, you may not, instantly she got accepted by the editor who loved it. And already
all right.
I don't know whether to cry or pat myself on the back.
This is a big deal.
It's a very big deal.
It's a very big deal because there are so few short story outlets. Women's magazines used to be Red Book and all those. They used to always have a short story. There are so few that are left.
Yep.
And to be chosen for one of the few that are left, that's a big friggin' deal. Congratulations.
It was a kick in the pants to write, and we all did it. And I think all of us had a good time writing them.
Oh, it was great fun, but you did it. You did it. So
now you're going to have to deal with the people who say they read your article because they were sitting in the dentist's office and the magazine was there because they don't want to say they actually bought it, right? Congratulations, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
That is wonderful. Yeah, good for you.
Way to go, Sue.
My first 2 stories ever were published in that magazine in 1981 and 1982, and they gave me a start. So, atta girl.
Right.
I was soundly rejected by them.
Really?
Just so you know, in 1981 or 82. Yes.
Well, I got rejected a bunch too.
Because they would pay real money. You used to get writers market. There was the huge book that you get with Writers Market, and Red Book was one of the big payers. You could pay like $800 or $900 from submitting a story. But apparently, it had to be back and that was the problem. So,
Mademoiselle was the other. I got one in Mademoiselle and was paid, I think, $1,000 back in the 1980s. So,
Playboy was the big payer.
Yeah,
that was like $1,800 to get a story in a Playboy.
Remember,
they actually had stories.
They had good stories. I mean, I'm told. I never picked up a copy, or two, but it's sad. Most of the market for short story, they're few and far between. Like you used to be able to get paid, and now,
very few.
Yeah, there's. I mean, geez. A handful of them, right? I mean, probably two-fisting the amount that actually pay, some real money now. So that is really cool. So thank you, Diane, for the toast of the night, and toast to you, Sue. I didn't know about it, but congratulations. That is really exciting.
Thank you. I appreciate
Next time I'm in the supermarket, I'm going to pick up some Tic Tacs in that magazine.
Like July
23rd,
something like that. And and
July 23rd.
If you send me a picture of yourself. You don't have to buy it. Just holding the magazine, I would be the happiest woman on the planet.
No. I'm not only going to buy it. I'm going to show up in Colorado at some point, and you're going to sign that for me.
I will happily do that.
Very good. Very good.
I have a toast to make. This would be to William R. Hinsey. I think the thing that you do here in bringing writers together, and this is the cool part of any conference. Right. I don't care about the classes and all about hanging out at the bar and chatting and getting to know people. You've done a magical thing here. And I'm serious. I think that it's a big deal. And I think it's helpful. We're past the pandemic issues of isolation, but fundamentally what we do is isolating, right? You sit in a room by yourself and you make shit up. So, congratulations. And not only do you do it, you do it well. So
bravo.
Very cool.
Amen.
Very cool. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, John. I will also toast to myself. Thank you for that.
Why not? Bring in one of your kids. Have them take the drink.
I'll see if my 14-year-old's around. I'll get them.
I'd like to make a toast to Dario, who was a brave enough soul to invite myself and my husband to come visit. And we're going to do so in October and hopefully meet Diane in the process and give her a big hug. And hopefully they're both speaking to me after they meet me.
If you wait another 3 months, you can get to meet Michigan for what it's famous for.
Yeah, cold.
Cold.
Oh,
Well, you have to go to the giant Christmas store. So you have to
Yeah.
it. Actually, John,
The
you
giant
should make the
Christmas
trip
store?
because how big is the Christmas store, Dario? Like we
Oh,
went to. It's-
Costco. Think of Costco.
Oh my
It's
Oh,
God.
really?
acres, acres.
Okay, so Dario,
Wow.
where are you? Hold up your hand. Right? That's Michigan. You got to do the hand thing. So, okay.
Right there. Yeah, Bronner's in Frankenmuth is the biggest year-round Christmas ornament store in the world.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's like
I
you
love
think
Christmas.
you're done and you go around the corner and it's just like a football field of like Christmas things. And my wife was
Actually-
so excited when we got there. She heard like the day we got there, Dario and Linda are kind enough to pick us up from the airport. We're driving and they mentioned Bronner's and she and I knew the second she heard it, she's like, oh, we're going tomorrow. Cause like John, just like you, we're huge Christmas. My whole garage is mostly Christmas decorations.
Wow.
You know? And so I'm like, oh, we're going there. That's going to be tomorrow's activity because she can't stand the next day. We're going straight there. And it
I
is
love
every
Christmas,
bit.
but I don't, I'm about as religious as I'm not at all. So I love the Santa snowman aspect. I mean, we're so religious that one time my kids got a nativity set in the mail from their grandmother, and they asked me why grandma sent them a bird's nest with people in it. So
No, this is a store where
And
you
what
can
was
get-
your response to that? What did you tell them? I need to hear
I
the.
cracked up.
Yeah,
There was no room at the inn. So you stayed at your bird's nest. Well,
That's what it was.
This is a store where you can get an ornament that's shaped like a bowl of ramen. I mean, it is. It's about as secular as you can get. They have an education section. They have a dog breed section.
I
Oh,
can't wait.
Oh yeah.
They have everything. It's truly amazing. So very
The only
good.
thing they didn't have, well, I looked for Dario, who does not like vegetables. We looked everywhere for broccoli, and we never found it. We did find an ear of corn, but no broccoli, which
They
was
make it because I got
Oh.
my father many years ago an ornament that was shaped like broccoli because he hated it.
all right. Well, I'm going to have to look next year too.
that's
'cause,
keeping the spirit of Christmas.
Maybe
in
they
your
run
heart.
out.
I am the thing he hates. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, what are friends for? You
Right.
know?
Well, he cursed at me in Spanish. That's all I remember.
Hey, Jessica, you win the prize for the most Zen Zoom set.
Oh, yeah.
With the candles and the,
Uh-huh.
it's pretty cool. That
Thank you.
You know what
Thank
else
you.
you win, Jessica? Is
What's that?
for the best hair I've ever seen in my life.
I've been admiring it too.
I look at John. No, thank you so much. You guys are making me blush so much. But yeah, I take pride in both things actually. Yeah. This is my office space and
I love it.
Typical. It's like I think it has to be gothic.
so are they real candles or are they electric flickering ones?
They're not real ones.
Okay.
In fact, they're rechargeable too. So I have like a thing that you just put a bunch of them in and you just plug it in
very
so they
good.
charge up.
Cool.
But yeah, they flicker. It's really cool. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
way
very
closer
good.
to you than I thought it was.
Do you have a toast, Jessica? Anyone you want to toast tonight?
I do. Mine's slightly morbid, but at the same time, like I would be remiss not to toast. Just about 3 weeks ago, lost my uncle, who was a Gothic kindred spirit, and so I would like to toast to him, Jose Mendez. This one's for you. Scald.
Cheers.
Go.
Cheers.
Yeah, sorry to bring it down, but no,
No.
he's like he was just
So
like me, dark humor, all of that. He would have absolutely loved this, and everyone cracking up. He was very big on bringing other creatives together as well. So yeah,
Did he go suddenly or was it kind of expected?
yeah, it was unexpected. He was dealing with like a lot of health issues in the past, but the way things happened, it was very sudden.
Thanks everybody so much. Toast to all of you again, and I mean this sincerely, thanks so much, everyone, for coming on. It is always a pleasure, always a delight. Cheers.
It was great.
Best show ever.
Cheers, Bill.
Cheers.
Hey, Stuart, what are you doing? Okay. Okay. Don't fall backwards.
I'm not gonna fall down the hill.
Okay. Is that like the other side, like a little ditch?
And I am gonna fall down. I just recorded that you.
I love you.
So now I'm gonna get my milkshake and drink. And have enjoyed that.